Hey guys, welcome back to the Lit Mag Lab podcast. I'm Vevna Forrow. So, on the past podcast episode, I was showing you around Scrap's Lit Mag. Now, if you're curious what they focus on and the type of work they're looking for, take a look back at that episode. Give it a listen too, yeah? It was bound to happen at some point in time on this podcast. I just want to do a very brief episode on Dipity Lit Mag. For those of you just tuning into this episode, I started Dipity Lit Mag back in 2022. I say technically September 3rd is when it was created by me, but it was around September 2nd, I think closer to midnight. So on that edge, almost there. So yeah, anyways, what originally led up to this was the start of the Hummingbird Blink Nectar Poetry podcast. And yeah, I started doing, solo reads. It all began, I think, on February 27th, 2022. So solo reads, then it evolved into group reads from the Instagram poetry community. Poets would, respond to a call I posted, send in our inbox a read of their work. Some would even talk a little bit about their, things they're working on, upcoming book releases. And yeah, so it was a lot of fun, Hummingbird Blink, that structure we used to have. Who knows, it may return one day. For right now, Hummingbird Blink has been converted to, our video-based focused podcast. So we share Dipity Press releases, and then we also share, Dipity Lit Mag announcements, and also let poets share, their work, whether, if it's a book, right, a publication, a chapbook even, from other presses and, publishing houses outside of Dipity Lit Mag, right, in terms of poetry collections or recent ones within the past 1 to 3 years. And as a result of that, converting it to our video focused podcast, right? We have now an audio focused podcast, so separated the two out. There's not a lot out on our, video channels like our other ones like YouTube and stuff, but hopefully one day I'll get all the stuff I have, set aside, still pending, I have to work on getting all of that past spoken word releases out there still. But I didn't really expect, Dipty Lit Mag to go beyond that year or the next or the following or now even. It was sort of unexpected. I have to say and give a shout out to Claire de Lune Poetry, Candace for sure. A lot of our series wouldn't have come together, had it not been for her and totally donating that photography for me to incorporate into the issues, and then also in taking some donations from some really great friends and that I'd come into contact with, back in my home state, and had met, through work trips and things like that. Shout out also to Curie again, Curie Rogers. So totally. And all the other poets who ever donated photography to Dipity or let us feature your work in it. Thank you so much. So for those of you unaware, we had issues 1 through 5, and that was our, we had a sort of a mixed mashup issue for our first one, and then I did a reboot of that to trim down cost, right? And then we had our dinosaur Greek mythology issue. The third one was our sort of medieval knights issue. And then our fourth one was antique road ship, so antique series. And who knows, that may come back one day. And our fifth one, Field of Cats, Whisker Factory, right? So a lot of fun. I tried to come up with some fun themes, things I liked and others that I knew of, as for the cat issue. So I mentioned this on the podcast, other places, right? There were just so many poets who had cats, right? And I know my dog Max would be kind of like, why didn't you do a Chihuahua themed issue? Who knows, guys? That totally could be a thing one day. Chihuahua poetry, right? Or dog poetry, right? Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. So the issues, I did the best I could with the layout and everything, trying to make it as fun as possible and cohesive with, all of the donations, all of the work that had been submitted. Originally, we started off just in taking things through a Google form, and then I moved over to, a Google form mixed with email, and then I moved over to Oleada, as I stated before, and then Submittable, right? And then after being on Submittable for almost about 2 years, a little over 2 years, we moved over to Subfolio. So yeah, just a little bit of insight for you on Dippy Lit Mag on what we focus on. So we don't have age restrictions at Dippy Lit Mag at all, and we accept submissions from around the world. There is poetry, of course, right? Poetry, fiction, flash fiction, and then again spoken word. I really love spoken word and hearing poets' voices. That is something I totally love. We have to continue to build that out. So yeah, we're based out of the Las Vegas Valley, technically. So, um, on the edge of Las Vegas, so Henderson. And yeah, so I started, technically thinking about Dipty Lit Mag in Las Vegas. And I was like, I've been here, since 2017. And yeah, it was a huge change for me, and everything, right? The weather and stuff. But totally a learning experience, absolutely. And I never expected, again, to start a literary magazine or to do these publication projects. It just sort of happened, Sometimes, we are, so moved by, it could be one person or a community, right? The Instagram poetry community too. And it just, let's say we're dealing with a lot of physical pain, a lot of incidents. They could, things that happened to us, prior to start Dippy. I shared that, right? And I feel like poetry, literary arts, art and writing for me were always there and helped me get through some really tough times in my life personally. Again, so yeah, I had a lot of fun putting these issues together. I'll share on our website and circle back to that, but I'm just gonna show you around our Chill Slips profile so you can see. We have our new little logo. It's not a new logo, but the behind it, it's new. So shout out! I just want to give a quick shout out to Emma Anna, a great artist, absolutely. So there's some artists we have agreements over, usage for Dipity. I do all of our visual design work with the exception of that and our Dipity Press chapbook series. And then going forwards for our issue series, we're really going to work with more artists. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun and still highlight photography. That's going to be something we do more so. You may even see photography in our upcoming, next couple of Dipity Press releases too, not just illustration work. That's what I'm hoping to do as well. Well, you can see there it says, oh, and by the way, I meant Emma Anna Chatter, I think, on social media. So yeah, really cool vintage collage work too. I was like, I saw it. I was like, we have to have that. That like fits Dippity perfectly. So prior to that, we had like photography a lot in our, behind our logos and stuff. But I think going forward, it's gonna be cool to have this new look and slightly different focus. We'll still have a lot of same sections, but a different central focus tying everything together. So you can read more about that. I'm not going to go into all of our calls, but you can see we're not open just until July 31st. Again, if you haven't used Chill Subs before, that indicates, the next call that's going to close, soonest, right? The one that's coming up first, the first deadline or earliest one, yeah? So yeah, and then we have these other calls you can see, right? September, October, July, right? That may be extended, totally, um, if we're not seeing submissions, like we just got started on some folio, sometimes we have to extend things, right, to give others time to read new guidelines and things like that. That's totally okay. So yeah, um, if you go over here, right, read the magazine again. We have examples of poets who submitted to us and got acceptances, right, and yeah. So totally check us out and give us a bookmark, but I'll just scroll down so you can see real quick. So our average time has been about, for those who track and shows us about 15 days, it looks like. Now, this is a rather high acceptance rate, and that's not accurate. Totally, it's not. Quite a lot of poets didn't track, their chill subs, or in their decision in chill subs itself. So that should definitely be much, much lower as of today. I inputted here about 34%. That's the approximate and one calculated by me. And, if more over time poets and writers input that in there, the acceptance rate will change and be closer to that, much lower. Yeah, we have a weird vibe, I guess. Some have said that, or, I guess every lit magazine journal, again, has a very cool vibe. So, we accept only unpublished poetry, of all styles. And we're probably going to discontinue our Instagram poetry spotlight section, but the bonus section. In terms of this, where it says accepts previously published, that only applies to, I wish we could put a note in there for short stories, and I may request that, or make a suggestion again to chill subs, but it only applies to short stories that are previously published. And then social media pertains to like Substack, and then I mentioned in our bonus community section, sometimes we've done that as well in the past. And yeah, if it is, has appeared on social media, we want to be aware of that because it'll be ineligible for certain events, not all, but some events. And yeah, so we do nominate for prizes: best new poets, best in that pushcart. There are some ones I'm looking at for short stories and fiction, so that may grow, over time, the amount of events we partake in nomination wise. And yeah, we are available in print and digitally. So again, I mentioned this on the podcast. Um, yeah, we don't have print subscriptions, but we have facilitated digital subscriptions. And there are other platforms we could go through. It's just a matter of cost and budgeting, in the future for facilitating more digital subscription options. But I think a lot of poets like having physical copies still of issues in their hands. Yeah, I would say in terms of like our site traffic online and stuff, it averages, when we're open, somewhere between 600 to 900 visits on average. But yeah, so we have concealed cover letters. So, although we say to input it, right, our reading team doesn't see your cover letters. So that is on about like over 85% of the categories, with the exception of like photography and some of our challenges and Substack interviews and podcasts. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's better to have blind concealed reads on a majority of categories. And yeah, again, to ensure fairness. This hasn't been updated yet. I've been trying to get this updated. I can't go in and edit this, but we discontinued this. So now we have no reading fees whatsoever. So we no longer have that, first time only is free. We have zero reading fees across Dipity Lit Mag. So if you want to submit a second time, a third time, there's no reading fees at all. And yeah, I feel like again that alleviates pressure off of, writers and artists who want to submit. It also removes barriers and walls, right? I don't like having that because, totally. There's some poets and writers out there, artists, right? They will not pay reading fees, and it's solely because of that, right? Fees are a wall. It prevents others from submitting, and we can't do that at Deputy Press quite yet or anything like that. But we do have fee waiver requests for disabled poets. So yeah, just know that our additional info section is not up to date. So always go refer to our category guidelines there. And yeah, and also check out the website guidelines. A lot of lit magazine journals, again, have the guidelines in a section on their website to refer back to, which is usually linked to, let's say Duotrope, and things like that, for their team to check to make sure that what they have is up to date in the directory as well, to help poets who use their search results and things like that. And you can see closed calls, so you can see that yeah, so that I have to update. We'll extend these totally because we just got on Subfolio this month, so a lot of the calls that you see are closed will be extended again, and that's totally okay. Yeah, I would say let's go back here for you guys. So we're gonna go to indie presses here, and let's type let's go to Dipity Press for you guys so you can see. So yeah, Dipity Press, this was started just about a year ago, so 2024 I believe is when we started this, or I started it. And we don't pay at this time, we just offer 5 copies as payment. I have to input this, update our fields here. So yeah, we do now micro chapbooks as well. So I'll go in here and update our listing. It's going to be closed for quite some time until we catch up to the next 2 releases. But yeah, I will show you our website here now. Totally. So this is our main navigation page for now. This may change. Recently I did some site updates, guys. So when Dipity Lit Mag started, I originally had, my pen name site converted to for Dipity Lit Mag. But then to comply with the CLMP membership, I tugged out all my stuff, got a domain, for Dipity Lit Mag, all of that stuff. And yeah, then it went under another site design update by me, and now another one this month. So this is what it is right now. You can see. And on the main page, we have our podcast linked out there. So yeah, I really love doing digital collages. This is some digital collage work for me. I always have fun doing that. Shout out to everyone on our staff thus far. We've had other volunteers in the past, and I want to say thank you to them as well for helping out. A lot of our processes have changed since the beginning of Dipity Lit Mag in terms of review and everything. And that's awesome. Sometimes it happens, when you develop a volunteer staff, your review process changes. So you can see, yeah. Eventually, we'll grow this out a little bit further. I'm hoping to, and maybe one day we'll be able to, pay our volunteer staff. I would absolutely love that. Yeah, totally. And yeah, so it is a lot of fun. Merch shop. And I have to update that a little bit further. And we have podcast nominations, our contest, right? And yeah. So the Surf Rock Poetry Prize, we originally had that, and it's renamed now. It was originally called the Symphonic Challenge, and now it's the Surf Rock Poetry Prize. So back then we had poets um, receive $50, and I bumped that up a little bit this year, to, doubling it. So yeah, our chapbook series really helps fund things. I would say, the next one in the series, the next one, it's a very tight budget. I want to, be able to pay artists fairly for those who, we have usage agreements with them on our series and things like that, and where we can use the artwork for Dipity Press. And yeah, so you can see our most recent release here, Urban Enigmas. Check it out, guys. Check some of these chapbooks out when you get a chance. And yeah, eventually I would like to change this to a search bar, instead of this filtering, or I could possibly do something else. But yeah, I have to code in like a search bar here. I was successful, but it wasn't functioning. So yeah, eventually I'd like to change that to a search engine function. Yeah. Um, in terms of that, so I added a search that's new, like an overall search, and then you can see our donate section here, so others can support us and contribute to keep us up and running, as much as possible. Since we discontinued, reading fees, donations will totally help us too. I created a help desk system, and I'm hoping to offer additional help desk services one day, more so to poets. Whether it be design requests or feedback. We handle feedback still through our submission system, Subfolio, and things like that. So yeah, and I'll take you out. So all of these are linked back, on the main page too, with the exception of, I don't think we have a link though for audio podcasts out there. So yeah, and see our guidelines and FAQs there. I was gonna make that collapsible, but there's been like some wonky things with like the FAQ apps and stuff. So I don't know if I'll ever use that. It got a fairly low rating, so that's why I have it all expanded out like that. I mean, I could make it collapsible text too, but we'll see. I think it's easier for others just to scroll through it. It's not too bad. If ever grows larger than that FAQ page, I guess I would convert that to collapsible. Anyways, sorry guys, just talking about things. I notes for myself too on things I want to change. So you can see we're a member of CLMP. We're listed on Chill Subs. We're listed on Duotrope. We're also listed on Submission Grinder. And yeah. So, this is Subfolio again. If you're not familiar with Subfolio, listen back to the Subfolio episode. I don't remember the exact number, but just know it's a couple episodes back. And yeah. So you can see we have all our calls. Again, if you're not familiar with this, right, you're probably familiar with Submittable or another, submitting via email or something like that. But no, so we stopped using Submittable, and everything submission wise has to go through here. There are exception of some things we spotlight through our Substack, right, which is totally okay. But in terms of poetry, flash fiction stories, interviews here, photography, all of it, and poetry feedback all through here. Yeah. So yeah, if you're curious about Subfolio, totally give that past episode a listen. Let me go back to our site here. So yeah, our online publication, I nicknamed it the online tank, online publication section. So, one day I'm hoping to put these, a lot of these poems in print or a series too, as well. And we have everything divided by category there. Sometimes the search is finicky and you have to get the title or name, specifically. But for the most part, I think it helps to have an overall search too. So, I would say I'm fairly happy with the updates I made to this site design, but there are things I totally would love to fix on specifically our chatbook pages, incorporating another search result bar in there for these pages. So, who knows? Maybe I'll figure it out. My coding knowledge is very rusty at the moment, but I was very close. It just wasn't functioning. The search, I coded in there. So I resorted to a filter, but yeah, and there are ways for others to support poets and donate to them directly too. Yeah, so I did the best I could. Yeah. So yeah, just gonna show you around some of the other pages real quick. So yeah, again, I probably should update that photo, but that has I have fond memories of going to the American Ninja Warrior event here. Yeah. Anyways, where was I? I meant to click on news actually. But yeah, so we have community spotlights here, and yeah, so this ties into our newsletter and our other publication, right, Substack that we run. And yeah, I really have fun doing those. And then we have, nominations. I probably will update our nomination. I think this is called a hero image. I forgot what they call it, but yeah, we'll probably update these. But I love the photography again. Yeah, so yeah, keep track of nominations and all of that, and Vershak, for digital publications. There's nothing in there right now, but eventually I will add to that. And then another page for donations, just a reminder. And yeah, so podcast. We have our Hummingbird Blink podcast again. You can take a look sometime you want to get a chance at some of the video episodes we've been doing in the series. Yeah, so I really love podcasting. I think it's a lot of fun, by the way. So yeah, our help desk is here. I have to expand this and update it, but it's closed right now. So we just process everything through general questions through our contact forms and stuff like that. At this time, since the additional services are closed. And maybe I'll cover that in other episodes, fellow lit magazine journals who offer, some other services to others in the writing community and artists and too, yeah. So yeah, then I will take you out to our print section. So you can see there's 1 through 5, and technically there's 6 here, and you can see the reboot. So yeah, we're doing a new look. That's not the official cover, technically, not technically, but it could be. But yeah, so I think it's gonna be exciting to start that. And we originally had issues averaging about 170 pages. At first it was almost 200 pages for issue 1, and then I trimmed it down, so 170. And then one of our issues too was about 130 because that year some life events had happened and a few other things, but I did the best I could to make it cohesive. Still, I think it was our most popular issue that out of all of them. I think the dinosaur Greek mythology one I really loved personally. I love all of them, but Whisker Factory, the cat issue is a lot of fun to put together. Antique Road Ship and the Medieval Knights, 3 to 5, I really had fun putting together. I did the best I could again on spine text. I think just on issue 3, it's a bit off in issue 4, but I did what I could. Issue 2 is a thinner issue, so that's to be expected. But yeah, you can totally still pick these up in online bookstores if you're interested. Yeah. So totally do that. You can find them through a search if you're interested. Yeah. Great British Bookshop has them, and a few other places, right? Yeah. So totally pick up a copy if you like. We do have digital versions too for a bit. And yeah, so that's basically it. I won't go into every single call or category we have in existence, but I'm just showing you, the page layout. This is another digital collage I did. So I try to make it fun for sure. And yeah, so that's basically it. Again, if you're ever curious or interested in submitting to us, check out Submit Work and enter the wave. Yeah, enter the wave. There's a music section I put out here too. So occasionally I rotate the bottom ones out and just spotlight some songs and music for sure. Music again was a huge part of my life, growing up. I'd say for sure. I played various instruments, over the years, and yeah, you can see our online tank as well. These are digital collages I do, each one for our online publications. Again, we might change this out to photography one day too, or donated photography as well in our online tank. I'm not sure. I do enjoy doing digital collages, but I think it'd be nice to focus on photography a little bit more. Yeah. So let me go back to our homepage here. Yeah. So just our online tank, I have it at the bottom link to for others to access. Then we have two separate mailing lists technically, one for our our newsletter announcement publications, and then our online tank. So you have the option. I would wish I had them centralized, but I think it's cool, for others who like to get updates and announcements, separately from that. I think it's beneficial. So yeah, eventually I'll add some more fun, digital collages in the homepage here for sure. And yeah, so check us out, if you're interested in submitting. Again, we are on Chill Sub, so you can always find us there. And I try to update our calls there as well. Also, some use Duotrope as well. So yeah, yeah, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to share Dipity Lit Mag and a little bit about it. Again, going forwards, I think music and photography are going to be a larger focus for us going forwards. We'll see if whether the online tank changes in terms of style and stuff, but seems others like the digital collages I do, so I'll try to keep those going. Yeah. So just sharing. Again, I mentioned I think on this podcast or somewhere I started playing violin. Again, this is an audio diary series for me too, so a little bit sharing just additional stuff. Started playing violin when I was little, and my parents put me in some classes. Then I did a talent show performance. I think I played Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on my violin at a talent show, in elementary school, how they have that. You get on the stage. I did that oddly well, but then like when I went to do a performance like on stage in front of other parents and other kids, I like froze like completely, and my parents were like, oh my gosh, Jazz, how could you have stage fright at this time, all those classes, all that money spent. And after that incident, I just stopped playing violin. I was just so, I think I was really upset about that. I did do some dance classes after that, some other things. I even did karate and stuff like Shotokan karate, and I took up trombone in fifth grade. That was the only instrument I think I really excelled at. Trombone. I was first chair and I did a solo with it in the gymnasium. I probably should have continued that instead of clarinet and flute again, in band. But clarinet and flute were super easy to carry around, to classes and stuff like that. And, it was really light, right? Super light. But totally, I should have stuck to trombone I felt like in middle school and onwards. I was really good at trombone. I missed that. I should have totally. Bassoon, I was okay at. I'd say I didn't get to try it long enough, but it was fun, to pick that up a little bit. And then I tried guitar briefly. My dad bought this black guitar. Never really got the hang of it, but yeah. I definitely felt I should have stayed with one instrument throughout my life a little bit. I sort of stopped after, school and work stuff came up, right? And that just dropped off. But I still absolutely love listening to music. And that's why music is a huge part of Dipity Lit Mag. I feel totally, I tried to highlight that as much as possible. So yeah, you'll see more of that going forwards, and, photography too. And we'll see about restructuring maybe the online tank and some other things. We'll have some new calls eventually too, for fun as well. Might tie into photography, interviews, and stuff like that. We'll see. All depends, and the others' interest will gauge on that. Some new calls. So yeah, stop by sometime, bookmark us, give us a follow if you're interested in Dipty Lit Mag. It'll be interesting and exciting to see the next upcoming months, and hopefully 10, 20, 30 years again. Who knows? Some lit mags and journals last that long. We don't have a substantial amount of funding, so like most publications, right? Self-funding things where possible, and then I do some side products to keep things going. But it's tight, no doubt. Try to do the best I can, considering other things, and keeping up with stuff. And shout out again to anyone who's ever followed Dippy Lit Mag since day one, since 2022, and also just a quick shout out here to all past volunteers of Dipity Lit Mag, and including Eartha Davis, who was our first ever volunteer reader at Dipity Lit Mag, and later editorial assistant. And yeah, who knows? Sometimes volunteer readers come back and, or help out, later in the publication. So yeah, um, so totally a shout out to everyone on the team thus far, and again, past volunteers, including William Swick and Jazz Meyer. Yes, we had another Jazz on the team at some point in time, reading team. So yeah, again, a lot of our review processes have changed since then, and yeah, if you're curious what I'm referring to, totally listen back to some of the earlier episodes of this podcast, and that's pretty much it. So, I'm looking forward to, again, the relaunch of Dippy Lit Mag, and getting some of our next upcoming chapbook releases and first ever micro chapbook out as well. So pick up a copy sometime and check those out. Totally. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We have a couple other projects on the way as well, so totally looking forward to that. Yeah. And if you were ever interested in reading past issues or legacy series, 1 through 5, they're still out there. So just search online through online bookstores, and you're bound to come across them. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Take care and have awesome days ahead. I'm not sure what the next episodes will be. Who knows? I might share a couple other Lit Magazine journals, and we're on episode number 42 right now, so we're getting close to possible break here. Just it could be briefly. I'm not sure how long, because I'm working on other things. But yeah, I think it's a lot of fun doing these episodes. Just sharing with you guys, and I hope you it helps you. Along the way. If you're thinking about starting your own lit mag or journal, or you want to submit to some cool lit magazine journals, totally just taking the time to share. And that's about it. So signing off for now. Yeah.